Yes. Okay. So Frontend Vision Working Group meeting, December 6th, 2023. Fred, you have the first point.
Yes, so following up from a previous discussion like a month back or so, I have the merge request to document architecture is merged. So this what this does is it explains things like how we do architecture at GitLab, which is basically saying that we don't have a specific role and that you should document whatever decision you make in the lowest minute possible. So if you do an MR, how to document it well. If you need like an issue to talk through architecture, you can do that. And also it introduced the design doc link, which is like the whole evolution architecture blueprint from engineering. And so this is what's supposed to replace the current RFCs project. And so this whole page is now explaining how you can avoid doing RFCs, basically, and implicitly. And there's a section about it on like how the RFC is going to be deprecated. So the next step for this is the pipeline icons. Yes, they did change. There's a bug, and they look awful. So hopefully they get fixed. But yes, so creating a feedback issue for frontenders so that they can talk about what's missing from the current process. So if there's like weird gaps or they think that it doesn't fulfill what the RC were doing, they can leave comments. Then we need transition help for like design documents. So if you had an RFC and you want to make a design doc, like who can you talk to? What does it look like? What's that like process? And then announcing the change and closing the RFC project. So that's all that's left. I don't know if anyone has concern with like this. I know we've talked about it before and it seemed fine, so I think it's still fine. But any feeling, advice, fear, feel free to let me know.
Yeah, it looks good to me. I'll review it a little bit more thoroughly later. Just for the first next step, would the expectation be that people leave feedback after they've done a design document, or just feedback on essentially the MR that you put through?
It should be more. So yes, that's a very great question. So I see it as like a two-prong kind of. So there's one prong would be I have this proposal, but it doesn't seem to fit into any categories, right? So for example, I've tried to address common use case, like I want to have a new linting rule. I don't know where to like get opinions, or like I want to move to TypeScript and I don't know how to do that. All of these could be in the issues. It's more like asking for help. Basically. Like I have this thing that I want to do and I don't know where. And I kind of thought an issue might make sense just to have that historically live somewhere. Could still just be Slack also and be like, if you don't know, just ping the Frontend Vision Working Group or just anyone in front end and ask like, what would you do? What should we do in these instances? So there's that. And then yes, if they did something with the blueprint / design docs, and they're like, it doesn't work well for front end for these reasons, could like send that feedback to someone like Vigosh was owning the process, since he has he told me that he could help us transition and that he could answer questions, so I can like kind of create that point of contact in that issue. It's kind of what I wanted to do.
Got you. Okay, so the steps here then are on well, so essentially I'm trying to find out when we can do 3, but globally around transitioning RFC, the RFC project to this process.
I think we can announce it like tomorrow. I can create the feedback issue today, announce it, say that in a week time we're gonna close the RFC, so that people know that they don't come up and it's closed. So announce it tomorrow, have the feedback issue in leave the comment, wait a week, close the project, and then gather feedback because it's gonna close, right? There wouldn't be any reason to keep it open. So if people can still view issues, we can copy over whatever work they've done to design doc. So Not tomorrow, wait a week, close the project, and then we're done. The whole RFC transition will be over.
Anyone have any objections or anything to that?
I jumped in here just because I saw this on the calendar, and I had maybe a heretical question that I thought would be related. What are the thoughts on potentially allowing the use of Hotwire, which is the approach that's supported in Rails 7 to do HTML over the wire with minimal JavaScript? I mentioned and I'm sure it's a touchy subject.
Before we go to Hotwire, can I add a single comment for the design docs change? Since design docs are usually something you create with a group of people, and that usually involves management as well, I think should it be safe to assume we are excluding external contributions? Because I cannot foresee how when like a community contributor creates a design docs that GitLab starts to implement. What do you think?
Do you think, like, when you mean external? Because when I think of the RFC project, this was also internal only. I've never seen community contribution being made for RFCs or other larger initiative. So I would imagine that for now this translates kind of 1-1. But design documents live actually in a different project. So we could potentially have groups that are invited and can contribute to design docs, and we could have open larger contribution like we could have had for RFC. The only difference is that then all design docs live in the same place. It's visible in our docs and visible in the handbook. So I would imagine that for now it doesn't change how we've done this kind of larger change, but maybe I'm missing something. Did you see like did you have in mind a community contribution for RFCs or / design docs?
Well, I myself was an external contributor to RFCs before joining GitLab, so I don't know if that counts because now I'm in GitLab.
Right. That's fair. I would say that's a good point. I think this is something we should raise as a question to like because the design docs is on all the way up to York. This is his vision of like the engineering infrastructure, like how we propose larger change. So I would start by asking, what's the vision in terms of like external contributors participating to like design docs, and from that answer we can iterate. So either we need to include larger contributor and have a workflow process, or the GitLab vision is not to include external contributor anymore. And I don't know. I don't have a good answer right now for that.
Yeah, so I just added, I'd imagine it'd be something that would, because there is a little bit of process to it to get it to, especially like the implementation process. So it would probably be something that they would partner with an internal, or the external contributor would partner with someone internally to move it forward. I don't think we ever had anything formal like that for RFCs. So I don't know if it makes sense to formalize a process with the design docs or not. Do you know if they're with the current design doc process that primarily backend is using? Do they have a process for external contributors to contribute?
If you ask me, I don't know about that, but I also think that a lot of people don't really know that GitLab has RFCs. You have to really dig deeper to find RFCs and how they work in GitLab at this moment. So people usually just create issues. I don't know, maybe they propose some clever solution. And in this case, it might be, right now it can be converted to an issue in RFCs with a proposal. But if we're deprecating this, we should give some kind of a link to like read this, apply this process, and that will ensure your change will be implemented at GitLab if we consider it valuable. So I don't know, should we have a specific point in this document stating that if you're an internal contributor, please find like some support in the form of a manager or another individual contributor to help you create this design document. What do you think?
Yeah, the project that hosts the design docs is a public project, right? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, maybe just including a line on just explaining that it's kind of open to. I mean, it's open for everyone to contribute a design doc if they'd like, but the recommendation for external contributors is to at least notify us that, hey, this is something that I'm thinking about working on, and then just so we can offer any assistance that we need throughout the process.
And also design docs have coaches, so I think it's a good idea. I like that design docs needs coaches, but then for external contributor, that is also something that you absolutely need to do someone, because you want them to reach out to, you want who can help you. And I think like Donald was saying, like anyway, you would need help from an internal team member because you couldn't possibly do it all by yourself externally. So I think it's a good point. It's about telling if you really have like a larger proposal, here's what you would do. And in the steps, and at the beginning, it's more about finding the right person to talk to. I don't know if it means creating the design doc first and then asking, or if it's more like, I had this idea, talking to a manager, and do you think this could translate to a design doc, and then working on it? Like there's this, but I'll take a note and I'll try and come up with something I can add in the architecture section of the doc to like, if you're an external contributor, this is how you would do it. And we can refer these people that would really like to contribute to this like workflow. That makes sense. Does that address your question, Stan?
Yes, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. Sorry, Chad, I'm going to skip over yours real quick because I think that is like that conversation may be something that we want to add as a decision in the goals.
Yeah, definitely don't need an answer now. I just wanted to get it on the radar of this working group as it seemed relevant.
Yeah, for sure.
Looks like there's a proposal.
Okay. So then for 3, I just linked the MR here. As far as next steps, if we as a group decide that there isn't that there's enough in there, then I would like us to start the process of getting that merged, and then thinking about on 4 who should be the DRIs, or if it should be task groups that are the DRIs, to make sure that each of the goals are actually progressing. Because what we don't want to do is just we create this 3-year doc, and then it's just something that is in the corner that we never actually take the time to work on. So yeah, what I'm asking for everyone here is to just give one more look through that MR, and think if you'd like to see anything else in there, and if so, add it as a comment in the MR, and then also what's currently in there. If you have any other comments on anything else we should put in there, and then we'll get that merged in the next 2 weeks, and maybe the next meeting, then we'll start talking through how we're going to assign each of those goals to either task groups or individual BRIs. Does that sound good? Okay, perfect. All right, so then to Chad's hot-wired, because yeah, maybe that's something we can put as a goal, but you want to talk through it real quick, or just a quick overview of what
I mean,
hot-wired is?
the issue that Natalia dropped, that Hannes had originally created, like in there, he said, based on an experiment, I have trouble seeing complex stateful applications being built, but like it's a standard part of Rails, so it's possibly an option to have significantly less code for something that does have not a lot of UI complexity. So if we're talking about future plans, I just wanted to maybe get that on the radar as an option.
Yeah, I think what usually happens is that most pages that would benefit from this kind of low-level interaction might even already just be in Haml with
It's
not a lot of interactivity.
Like it's not necessarily the performance of it, it's the fact that you don't have to write the JavaScript. It's like if the efficiency and maintainability, if virtually all the code is just in Ruby and it's a minimal view.
No, exactly. That's what I mean. What I mean is like, yes, it could be applied. There are not a lot of pages at GitLab where it could be applied. By just the nature of how it expands very quickly. Most UI end up being very interactive. So there might be some very basic setting page or forms, but they tend to move away from it very quickly. So I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
I would say that,
you know, assuming we support Action Cable, which we have in some parts of the app already, like they built the whole email application on it, which is an interactive, like it's possible to make it.
Full transparency, Action Cable had issues in the past with scaling, which stopped our subscriptions from working for 2 weeks, and we needed to work with infra real close to make it work. Right now it's doing fine, but we are looking closely still at it because every single time we add a new Action Cable connection, we're at the risk of getting out of memory again. That's just one thing. And I will be just controversial and drop it. What is wrong with writing JavaScript? It's fine.
Yeah, that's why I said it's a heretical proposal. If you can get away with the minimal UI without writing any view components, without writing any test of the view components, if it's, you know, say just an admin and a basic admin UI with FRUD, why have that extra code? But that's what Paul said. It's like when you bring this up, the JavaScript developers are going to get defensive, which I completely understand.
Yeah, I struggle a little bit, and it's may just be my lack of understanding of hot-wired, but I don't know if I really understand the benefit of it over just writing the JavaScript side of things. Is it because
basically it's you write mostly Ruby code, and we could still use, you know, the component classes at the CSS level, but you wouldn't be writing view components, and it wouldn't be view communicating over Apollo. It would be the Rails app directly rendering the HTML and pushing it over the wire. It's a different paradigm, but we don't have to debate it now. Like that proposal is, you know, a pre-existing discussion of it. I just wanted to give it on the radar. And to the point, like what you already had in a discussion maybe a month or two back, Like, I think it's fine for developers to come up with spikes or implementations or their own skunkworks projects to propose these things. And, you know, once you have some working code to show, then we can talk about it. So I think that's probably the state we'll be in.
And also, I just want to clarify, personally, as a JavaScript developer, I like no JavaScript code the most, right? So
Exactly. Like I've been doing
I also
JavaScript,
like no
like-
Ruby code. No code is the best code. So yeah.
I've been doing
Um,
JavaScript like since JavaScript came out, you know, going on 30 years ago. And I always said I don't like it and I'm not good at it, but ES6 I really like. Like it's actually JavaScript has their shit together better than almost any ecosystem nowadays, and Vite is amazing. So it's not that I don't like JavaScript, but again, no JavaScript would be even better than awesome JavaScript.
But it still sounds like it's still, I mean, there's still code. It's just the writing.
There's
it
still
in
code, but it's all Ruby
versus
code and
writing
maybe
in Java.
less of it, and you're not having to maintain, you know, independent tests on both sides of it, and write Apollo and or GraphQL endpoints, you know, like just that in itself. It's like, okay, like maybe we need to expose the raw data, but we don't need to necessarily have to have API endpoints for everything, just enough to expose whatever we need to facilitate third-party integrations. Just thinking outside of the box. Don't want to hijack your meeting. That's
No worries.
we need to talk about it.
It's yeah, we could probably still.
And now that it's in
continue
Rails
talking.
7, you know, and we're on Rails 7, it's like it's not some crazy idea somebody's gonna be hacking together. It's fully supported standard Rails 7 out of the box.
Alrighty, well, we're at time. We can probably continue having that conversation in the RFC that's still open for now. And then maybe that's something that we can move to a design doc. Alrighty, well, thanks all. Have a good rest of your
Thanks.
week.
Bye.